Like call to order of the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission Human Resource and Safety Committee meeting minutes. Are there anybody for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, our first item is approval for minutes dated August 3rd, 2017. We have had many opportunities to peruse these minutes, so since we haven't had a meeting in a while. But take a second look over. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from the August 3rd Human Resources meeting.
So,
Probably motion second for the approval of the minutes from August 3rd, 2017. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed, the same. All right, getting down to our discussion. Item number 1, recruiting and termination stats. Ms. Lane from TSIS.
Good morning. Bailey is out sick today. Cindy Barnhart. I have the information that she provided that's in your packet that reviews the 4 current job postings for equipment operator, utility service worker, water distribution crew leader, and wastewater treatment plant operator 3. We also have an internal job posting that for construction inspector. Year to date, 911 applicants for positions here at Brunswick Joint Water and Sewer. Bailey has statistics here on new hires. We have a new utility crew member hired 9/5, a manhole rehab technician also hired that same day. We have a customer service representative that began work 9/11. Deputy executive director on board as of 9/15. Engineering systems analyst / modeler on board as of 9/25. SCADA systems and data networking technician hired as of 10/3. Under transfers, promotions, and other, we have 1 candidate that was not eligible for hire for utility crew member. I mentioned the construction inspector's internal promotion. We have an internal promotion for SCADA systems and data networking tech, and administrative coordinator for planning and construction. Interviews are taking place. I believe there were 5 candidates that were considered for interviews. No terminations with reasons, there's nothing to report there.
Okay. Question.
I mean, I don't know if they're, do we have a problem putting the names on these things when we say they're hired, so we kind of know?
It's public, right?
Well,
That's
so
why
like if
we
we
would do it.
could we put them
I don't know if that would be part of the commission. I'd have to double check with Mr. Dormany, because it would be internal personnel issues.
Don't we make decisions about personnel?
For policies, yes.
Does our policy say we can't or we can't?
I'd have to find out. We'd have to talk about
Is
that.
there a reason why we couldn't post the names of new hires in our meeting? None. So
I just like to.
let's start keeping them in the,
For new hires? Okay.
Well, I mean, when they come before us, we know we'd like to at least know where they are.
Yeah.
For new hires, yeah, I agree. For terminations, I wouldn't.
No,
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 yes.
just for new hires.
Sure, absolutely.
No, I'm not like a drug
Sure.
I don't want,
We don't know.
Okay.
I just want to know who's working so I can see that.
Yes, sir, I understand now. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any questions concerning our recruiting and termination stats? Now, are we actually recruiting for these positions here that you got posted? That's
Yes,
are
until
there
we're told.
any that's not posted here that we're recruiting for?
No, I mean, this was prepared as of 10/3, and that's all that I am aware of. As I said, Bailey Lane is out ill, but she had prepared this and submitted it to Janice.
Now, the equipment operator, is that standing opening, open?
Kind of, it's an entry-level position that tends to, we need people for it.
The same with utility service worker?
Yes. And as we do it, promote from within, then we have to fill those slots.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2, our safety update, Mr. Cemetery.
Good morning, and good to hear as of this point, we have no new injuries to report at all. Just the same 2 for 2017, and they're both closed. So I really didn't have nothing to report on that front.
So are we starting a report, a trend as to when we have, let's say, so many safety days, we get something happens? We champion that to our employees?
Well, we have the safety stand down every July with the safety incentive program. But as far as putting a number up on a wall, we've been X amount of days without an injury. No, sir, we haven't done that.
I don't mean to start that, but I'm just.
No, we do not track it in that form. We just do it off the safety committee and with the safety incentive program each year.
Question? Okay, thanks, sir. Item number 3 is staffing of deputy director and director of operations position. I asked this to be put on the agenda mainly because we have hired our new deputy director. And welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir.
With that, we had Colonel Bolin as our interim deputy. We need to set his date for him to get out of that position. Yes, I don't mean to say it so ugly, but
No, I understand. And what we talked about, he and Mr. Burrows are working together to do just a few more days of OLAP for orientation purposes.
what's a few more days?
And we're gonna have a schedule out end of this week.
End of the month.
Okay, end of the month, and just days here and there, it's not gonna be a full-time status after this week. As the schedule requires. Is that kind of what you were asking?
You looking for a final date?
I am, basically.
Oh, end of the month is what I heard.
He said the end of the month. That's something he agreed upon, you agreed upon, but did we
I
agree
was
upon?
waiting for their schedule to come back to me, but if they're to that point, that's fine.
Okay. That's fine, Commissioner?
Yeah, I know one action that's ongoing that needs to get wrapped up.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got one fire that's, you can finish.
Okay, along with that, the deputy, this director of operations position, since we have our deputy director, we need to get that off our books. I know we kept that on there because we didn't know who was gonna hire at the beginning at the particular time, and we had some issues with it. So, I'd like to see that come off our budget.
I'm not ready for that.
You're not ready for it.
No, sir.
But we haven't decided we're gonna hire it either.
No, sir. But
So-
to take it out of the budget at this point, I think until we get to the point where we're ready to make that decision,
I thought we had made a decision already,
what decision?
that we're not gonna hire our deputy,
No, sir.
our director of operations.
No, sir, that decision was not made.
Also, do we need to make that decision then?
I made my decision, but
Yeah, but you made a recommendation. Okay. Then we make the decision as to whether we're gonna have
whether
a
we're gonna
position or
hire that
not.
position.
Yes.
I think that's personnel.
But he recommends to the commission to set his organization, and we decide whether those things, if he says, I wanna hire 20 people or whatever, like, does that mean that we hire 20 people?
That's my understanding, yes, sir, that you are in charge of hiring the executive director, and he's in charge of the remainder of the staff.
So why?
Cindy, is that your understanding?
That's my understanding as well. The commission has their mechanism of control of that is approval of budget funding those positions.
But I thought the last time, because we were so unsure of that position, that the budget was approved with a conditional caveat that position really.
That's true. He is accurate. But we did approve the budget to cover that position, at the point in time we got ready to look at the need.
But I'm still a little, not understanding the fact that, so basically, if you want to hire, if you decide to set the organization up and hire, let's say, 2 or 3 deputies or whatever, that means this commission has no authority whatsoever for who you hire, I mean, what you do, how you do it, other than to sanction you?
No, you don't have to fund it. You have the ability to control it through the
through
budget.
the budgetary process.
So if they went back and did a, what do you call it, a
That's-
revision to the budget? But I will say this, to make this decision at this point is premature.
That's your opinion, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what decision are you talking
You
about?
talking about keeping on the books or not, but we just hired your
Deputy
your
director.
deputy director, who,
Correct.
to me, would, those duties would roll right into his position, what he's doing.
No, that's not exactly accurate.
They could.
If I could, if you want me to go through the differences in what I had intended for the other position versus what this position is intended for.
That's fine, Mr. Junker, but all those positions that you're putting on board, they are basically being funded by our ratepayers. And also, and what's happening now is our rates are going up, and we're getting complaints about our rates going up, basically because we are putting
I understand,
in
but
place.
with all due respect, Mayor, one of the things I've put in here is the reason for this added position is to consolidate. This gentleman has tours of, or a laundry list of things programmed that are utility-wide needs that I need him to work on. I've already got him loaded up and staying past 5 every evening to make sure we get some things done that are very critical.
That's fine.
On the other hand, one of the things I've argued for all along has been that we've got to consolidate operations to improve our efficiencies, to reduce our costs, to improve our ability to keep our rates down to our ratepayers. I've seen it from my personal experience that when you do that, you gain flexibility by cross-training, by scheduling, by using asset management programs to check and manage the way your resources are put out. But that won't happen if we leave 4 independent organizations kind of out there autonomously working to their own, seeing what they can do.
So I don't think you leave those independent departments out there. That's why you have that deputy there. For one thing, I actually think that if you get great superintendents, then they should be working for your deputy. And also, if you're giving him so many duties, I mean, then we ask the question, what are your duties? I mean, so I don't want to get back
I
and
can
forth.
put together my list. And
I don't want to get back and forth with you about your duties and his duties and what you're tasked him to do. What I'm just saying is that we keep adding more layers of government at the expense of our ratepayers, but what you keep saying is that it's for efficiency.
You're implying, or you're saying that we're going to do this and it's going to cost our ratepayers more. I'm saying it will cost them less.
I know what you're saying. Right, so do we have a different opinion?
Very.
Okay. All right. So anyhow, based upon what we said about that, putting that in the budget, so since we control that, then I guess we'll have to have the budget committee come back to us again so we can either take that off or not. True?
That's what
Attorney?
you're saying.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
They'd have to come for the full commission too.
Okay.
That's my
When
understanding.
is it scheduled to come on in the budget? Because it was not scheduled to come on.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth
Budgeted
quarter.
for the fourth quarter of the fiscal year,
So that would be in the
March.
March,
timeframe.
right.
That position would be funded.
And then, again, like I said, next year, then you can decide exactly when, if we want to decide again to whether put that on board or not, by then, he'll have 6 months on his belt.
I can buy that. And I anticipated that, in fact, Mayor, that by the third quarter, he would already have quite a few months under his belt. We would already see where things are going. I'm already starting to see it. But honestly, with some of the other issues we've got to get together, we may not be quite ready for the position to start. It might be, but then again, I can see some delays that would keep it from situation being ready
Right.
in the third quarter.
Well, I don't want to have something that we automatically just roll into position because we have it on the books.
Yeah, I'm not
Versus-
gonna hire somebody if we're not ready.
All right. So we'll bring that back to the finance committee to come back to this board, I mean, to the full commission. Okay. All right. Questions, commissioners? Comment? Okay. Also, Mr. Donahue, would you, I think I asked you last time to get a total of our personnel costs during the hurricane. I mean, what we paid out to our personnel during the hurricane.
Okay. That information just came through in the last pay period last week.
Right. So,
And we're working on putting together our
Report.
reimbursement request through insurance and FEMA, so that number will be generated in the next, I would anticipate, next few days.
next 3 days?
Next few days.
3 days.
I can't say exactly.
Well, we want this board to know exactly what that is. That way we can,
Put it as an item for the finance committee on,
2 weeks.
I think it's the 18th of October. And then we'll go to the full commission on that. We just need an accounting of where we are on the storm costs,
right.
and part of that breakout needs to be personnel.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Not, item number 4, appeal process. Mr. Dominic?
Good morning. We had an occasion to review the corrective action, disciplinary action appeals process, and upon reviewing that, there are some changes that we would like to initiate to help streamline the appeals process and clarify some issues that may remain outstanding. First, section 7.4, the two sections are 7.4 and 7.5. 7.4 deals with corrective action and disciplinary action. There's different types of corrective action and disciplinary action. Only some of the corrective actions arise to what is called a disciplinary action. In 7.5, or excuse me, 7.4 on page 3, just to clarify that when any disciplinary action is being taken, there'll be a notice of disciplinary action and right of appeal notice provided to the employee. That will, the hearing and appeals process will be governed by section 7.5. I have a markup of 7.5 contained in your documents there. Again, this applies to disciplinary actions for probation, suspension without pay, demotion, pay reduction, and or dismissal. Initially, there'll be a notification of a disciplinary hearing, notified in writing for any of those disciplinary actions, and at that time, they will have 3 days from the date of that notice to request an appeal. They have to provide that in writing to the HR department within 3 days following the notice. If the employee then waives that appeal, the disciplinary action becomes effective at that time. The HR department schedules the hearing. The hearing is then held before or presided over by the division head, executive director, or other appointee as the hearing officer, and they can consider all prior disciplinary actions and other relevant evidence. The hearing officer then will render his opinion within 5 working days of the hearing, and if the hearing officer decides that the disciplinary action needs to be amended, i.e. reduced or made more stringent, then if it is reduced, he can initiate that through his opinion at that time. But if it is more stronger disciplinary action, then an amended notice of disciplinary action will be provided, and the same right of appeal will be given at that time. Disciplinary action will then become effective on the date of the notice of disciplinary action is issued or the date of decision of the hearing officer, whichever is later. Additionally, attendance at the hearing, it's essentially the hearing officer, the employee, any fact witnesses, JWSC legal counsel, the employee's legal counsel if they have one, and any other persons that are approved by the hearing officer.
Charlie's driving this.
Yeah, that's my question. What's
I mean,
basically
these are
changed?
some major changes.
That's right.
They're actually not major changes.
Are they rewording something?
Yes, they're just clarifying, there's some wording discrepancies within the policy. The same terminology is not used consistently throughout. And the one major change is we're going from 2 hearing appeals processes down to 1. So initially, as it's currently drafted, the employee had a right to appeal to the division head, and the division head then issues his, of course, the division head is the one proposing the disciplinary action. Then they appeal to that same division head, and then if they don't like the division head's ruling, then they can appeal to the executive director.
Well, essentially what you're saying is the decision to discipline an employee or remove an employee is at the division head level.
Usually, yes, sir.
So our managers don't have the authority to say, well, I'm going to fire you.
Well,
He can only has the authority to say, I'm going to recommend to the division head to fire.
that's not covered by these 2 policies. No, no. But the appeals process is in front of either the division head or the executive director.
Well, I guess I, as a manager, if I was having problems with an employee, would seek guidance from my division head as to what I should do.
Okay.
And so I would lay out to him the problems that I'm having with the employee, which would generally involve work problems that the employee's having and why I want to remove him from the organization.
Okay.
Okay, so in my opinion, just looking at it and the size of our organization, I would think that the division head is not sufficiently removed from the problem to actually perform an appeal process.
Okay. Well,
Is that correct, or am I totally out to lunch?
no, I think that may be, in fact, correct. It depends on the situation, though. And in fact, it may be a division head that is being.
Well, we'll talk about that situation next.
Well, and in these revisions, it kind of gives you, it brings everything under the same umbrella. So if the division head, if a manager goes to the division head, the division's head then goes to the executive director, and the executive director says, yeah, we need to terminate that person, then the hearing process does not go, I mean, it can go in front of whomever the executive director decides.
So I think the appeal needs to be heard by somebody that's not in the process of deciding what should we do.
Well, I think
I
that's
don't disagree
why
with that.
they decided to have a hearing officer now instead of division head. That's what seems to be different
Right,
in this
the-
thing here right now.
Yes, sir, that's right.
You
The hearing
are
officer-
wanting a hearing officer
Yes, sir, exactly.
versus him hearing the case.
Okay.
So that was
Right, it gives
most
it,
of up in here.
these revisions give it more flexibility, whereas before, the first layer was the division head, the second layer was the executive director.
Okay.
Here, there's only one layer, and the executive director makes the determination as who's best to serve.
Hear
as
the
hearing
appeal.
officer.
Get appeal, yes.
Right.
Okay, and he can select an outside entity. Does that come from within the organization?
It's just a hearing
It just
officer.
says appointee, yeah. It
It's
can be
kind
a
of
division
taking
head.
a cold approach, because even the federal government allows the chain of command, right? That you can kind of go up, aren't we circumventing that by saying, well, Mr. Executive Director, you don't have to listen to it. You can say, look, I don't want to be bothered with this. That's really not sending a warm, friendly signal to the employees.
The difference is, I think, that within the federal government, the span between the final authority and the recommending authority is sufficient, that there's some sort of ability so that that person is not part of the decision-making process to let an employee go.
Well, I really don't think, I would like to have him in there listening to minor corrections being here. If he can appoint somebody to do that, what he can do is, he can, have somebody like his deputy, or maybe,
Sure.
his engineer or something like that, because maybe engineering problem.
But if you're being terminated,
Yeah, but he can sit here all of them though. I mean, he should be fine, he can just sign off on the paperwork, but he shouldn't be the one.
I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Ford, and I agree, but there's the reverse side of it. Some people say, oh, this guy's being cold, he doesn't want to, he's detached from it. The others are gonna say, he was part of the original decision, he's biased. He's not gonna give a fair decision. You're kicked in the head no matter which way you go, so I don't really mind which way you word it, but either way, people are gonna complain.
And again, as currently written, you have flexibility to decide whomever. You
Right,
I
well,
mean, if it needs to be the executive director.
20 years or not, right?
If it needs to be the deputy, he can hear.
all right, so now the disciplinary action, what you're saying, before, it had to be issued by the division director, now it can be issued by anybody.
No, sir, the appeal was, the first layer of appeal was presided over by the division head.
No, in page 7.51, on paragraph A, I think that's where I've seen it. Or was it the other page?
It has to be the other one, this is the deal.
No, I'm sorry, under practice guidelines, paragraph 1, it says, a notice of disciplinary action, and then you have now crossed out, shall be prepared by the division head.
Right.
So that
This
means anybody can. Because it's not
No,
specific.
no, sir, this policy doesn't govern who can issue a disciplinary action. 7.5 does not cover that. That's addressed elsewhere in the policies. However, that paragraph detailed who was supposed to write the letter. And by taking that out, now,
I got it.
anybody can write the letter, whoever needs to write the letter.
Mr. Dominic, I understand what you're giving us here, and I know that maybe the HR department have taken a look at this and changing some wording around. But they just gave it to you, you brought this before?
No, sir, we started looking at it late last week, and I was asked yesterday to present today. But this is, I mean, we talked about it and discussed it. However, I was only able to get this done today.
You were presented to us today just for information, so we can take a look at it and maybe vote on it at another meeting?
Well, it would have to go forward to the full commission. But yes, sir, it doesn't
It's
have to
kinda-
go
Yeah,
today.
it's kind of seemed like we're not ready. We have some issues. We have just reading and looking at it, trying to digest it
Yes, sir.
before we want to send it on to the next meeting. That's my opinion right now.
Okay.
And I know it's a change in wording, and also appeal process has changed quite a little bit, I'll say. So I would like to at least have at least some time to digest it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner, any thoughts?
I haven't even gotten past the first page. I'm still trying to understand all the crossed out lines and everything.
Sounds like he agrees.
So I think we need that little bit of time for that.
Just stick it on the.
We'll stick it on our next,
Next meeting.
next human resources meeting. Okay. All right. Comments?
So who do you want me to send all my questions to?
Send it to me and I'll read it to Charlotte. Or send it directly to Charlotte.
Just hold it and hit me cold at the next one. You gotta.
Kind of like that.
That's quite a good question. Okay, we're gonna send that, to our next meeting, to deal with that appeals process. All right, we're down to the executive director's update. Sir, anything you want?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything new for today.
Okay, all right. Commissioner, anything you, would like to bring before the meeting before we close?
No, no.
All right, okay. That being said, stand adjourned until our next meeting.
So you can have